So today I'm going to be working on translations using ChatGPT. I'm just going to kind of lay out what my plan is. Recently translated the entire app with ChatGPT into 48 languages. Well, I did two myself and 46 other languages done with ChatGPT. So that's what I'm going to work on today. Today, the idea is to, right now, I did it a big one shot with the script and the command line. And today I want to be able to add new translation phrases. So when I add new features, I can update the database. I have a translation index to update and translations themselves to update with the new phrases. That's the plan. This will be an add phrase. And so a phrase contains key what else? Key context, the English version, French version, and I don't know if I'll do the French version. I'll check it after. At least the English version, the context, the key, and then that should be it. So this will update translation index. Add key context base translation English translation to translation index. And then what else? This also has to add the English translation to translations. And this is going to go to ChatGPT, OpenAI logo. Let's import that. Add image. OpenAI API. Translation for all languages found in Also some languages stored in transconfig, I believe. Transconfig. Right. Right. This provides the list of languages that shows up in the application UI. It would be here. Okay. Let's see. No more of that. The title, add translation phrase. So this then provides translated interface. That's pretty good for all 47 languages found in transconfig. Okay. Okay, let's do this. So this is a Angular app. This is an Angular app. This is Firebase, real-time database. Real-time database. OpenAI. This I already have an account set up, so that should be okay. I don't think I did my deploy of the key to production. Let's see. Um, just hide that for a second. Firebase use blind valet production. Set the API key and deploy. So I just added my API key for OpenAI to the config, and I'm deploying it to prod. Should be okay. What else? Guess we could start on the interface now. Let's go to BVadmin. So this we could probably put it on another desktop. Might be easier. So two. Quit this. Okay, so the app we're going to be modifying is this, BVadmin, my back office app. So I'm going to add a item for translations Probably underneath stats, I would guess, would be best. This is mainly for my freelance business. So let's add it underneath stats. So let's add it in menu item first of all. Let's see. We'll have to add a route for that. So let's see stats. So the second one, we'll call this translation. Translation. Ironically, this application isn't translated. It's all back office app. I'm the only user, so that's not a problem. Let's see, this is the icons. We'll need to get an appropriate icon for that, probably a globe. This desktop over here. So, let's see, where do I get the tail end icons? I think we used hero icons. And then let's see, language. Could be that or world. This is kind of old school. Let's do the language maybe. Salad, mini, micro, salad. Code. So class, yeah, the same class as that one. So it should get up the same size and so forth. And no fill, view box should be good. Of course, the routing won't work, but we have our translation. Spacing is off. That's annoying. Spoke with my cat. Add class. What am I missing? This? Probably. And that's there, which was not there before. Okay. Start with 2. There we go. Stroke with 2. Okay, looks better. So we have a broken, we got the menu item, but we have a broken one because there's no component to go to, there's no route. So let's see, stats is its own component. Let's add a component. They're not under the dashboard, so let's just add one anywhere. ng generate component translation. And then routing for this app. It's an app routing module. So let's do underneath stats. make that translation. And import that there, looks good. Translation works, hooray. Okay. So what's next? And let's add some form fields. Tailwind, that's all. Open up another browser for this. Oh, this one's good. Components, application UI. Forms. Input groups. Something like this, just a stacked form would be good. Obviously, there's way too much stuff here, but take column now. I can just start with this and then just delete out a bunch of stuff. Copy. Da-da-da. First ban on my channel. That's a nice one. Give me a break. Okay. So, by the way, I'm using the Chatterino chat app, which is kind of nice. I'm on Mac, so it's a nice Mac app, and I just was able to ban a user that was spamming my channel. Kind of crazy. I need a moderator when I have 0 viewers, but that's the way it goes. So let's go. Oh yeah, the form. So let's go to the translation component that we created. Add this form. Oh, that's the guy I just banned. You can see that. I don't care. Let's go back to here. Pick up this code. And we're going to get rid of a lot of this. That's the top level. There's a section in this thing or what? So basically, something like the username is what I would use for all the fields. That's the only one I want to keep, really. And I'll just duplicate that username. So I think if I just delete these out. First of all, I don't even remember if I really have tailwinds in this project. I think I do. Yeah, I do. This goes up to the second Let's go all the way down. No, one more. Okay, and then the profile thing, we can get rid of that. Okay, and then there's just the border. And border bottom, we can get rid of this whole border. And then add some padding, margin 8. Okay. Actually, you know what, that profile thing, we could leave that actually, because this could be a section for functionality and translation phrase. Adding a new phrase. Well, creating a translation key and automatically translate into all app languages. Okay. A bit more margins. Okay, we just have our buttons kind of out of control. Let's put this maybe margin up top on the player form. Our buttons are not too crazy, and then it's probably too big. Let's do a max width. Max width. What is Tailwind's max width? I almost forget. Tailwind CSS. Docs. Width. Max width. Max dash W. Max W and what 64 or something like that. 60. 60 and 64 should both work. Was it different in Tailwind? Because this may be an old version of Tailwind. Max width. Oh yeah, it's different. 5XL. It's probably still too big. Let's do 3XL. Okay, that's better. And then we have Blind Valley color set up. Tailwind config. Just override it orange. Orange 500 is probably the color, so I'll make the save button that color. Let me change that to add phrase is good. Thank you, Copilot. Indigo. Replace all the indigos by orange. And oh, that's a dark one. Maybe it's a bit dark. Better. And then location Jane Smith. No, it's not a username. So this will be, let's see, transconfig. Let's look at the translation index. Basically all the phrases in the application that need to be translated, and context and value. So we have the key, context, and the value. The value is the English translation. Okay. So we need 3 fields here. I could also do the French one myself, but let's let ChatGPT do it. Just wait around here. Okay. So we're doing something funky in this one. So the first one, let's make this the translation key. And we'll do a placeholder key name. Just so we know that it's the convention is uppercase with underscores. And then we'll change these IDs to trans key. Okay. Does this look okay? And so then we just need 2 more fields like this one. So the translation key would be the context. Describe where this text will be used in the application. So call this context, trans context. Voila. So describe. Okay, so we've got the translation key, the context, and this next one should be the English, base English translation, let's call it. Base English text. This is not a translation when you haven't translated it yet. So again, the idea is that we have all our translations for our application currently in the Firebase real-time database. the interface is generated in real time from the translations. But currently, I've changed the way I'm managing translations, and I've now translated the app into 48 languages altogether with the OpenAI, the ChatGPT API. And so now I'm basically need a way to add a new phrase to the application. So I'm adding that through my admin interface. This is from BlindLA, my application, the poker management application. So that's what we're doing right now. We're working on the interface for VBAdmin for adding a phrase. Then we'll add the cloud function. This will be a Firebase cloud function to call OpenAI API, which will translate it into all the 47 other languages besides English. Store those in the translations in the database. These are all the phrases that are currently in the application. And these are all the translations. A little long, a lot of languages, a lot of translations. Here we go. So for example, if you want to see Finnish, how we say it in Finnish to add a card, here it is. I'm not going to try and pronounce it, but that's what it is. And so initially I had an interface where users could translate the application themselves if they wanted to. We actually had a lot of contributors for that, but a lot of the languages were only partially translated. And so recently I did this with a command line script to translate it into all the languages. So let's go. So back to the interface. I've got the key. I've got the context. These are going to be important for the translation index that we maintain. This is the key. This is the context. And now we just need the value. So base English text. Call it trans value. And I'll just put English text. Okay. Don't really need a cancel button. And then add phrase. See, what do we do with search? See how we handle inputs on this one. Model. Right. Been a while since I worked on this app. Let's see. This will be trans value. This one will be autocomplete. The trans context. So we're not going to be doing any autocompletes. We'll get rid of those. And this one will be trans key. And right, we need to define those in the component. Trans key string. value trans context. Okay. And then let's do this should probably be disabled. Disabled if we don't have disabled if the 3 values are not entered. Disable the button. Let's see the tail when disabled. Let's see if we did it anywhere else in the app. Try and be consistent. Disabled. Add admin would be good, probably. Good example. No, it's not disabled. Why was that? Why would that be disabled? There we go. Example. And disabled opacity 30. Okay, do that. So disabled if not trans context. Let's make this thing. Good question. Is that truthy? Is it false if it's 0 character string? I should know that. Add the disabled. What's the syntax for that? Yeah, so that's good enough. So then if you put something in there, something in there, something in there, and there's the button. Okay. And then we need a function. So the button actually does something. So let's make this add phrase. Probably fine for now for a placeholder. Add phrase. Oh yeah, I need to make the button call it. Oops. Let me add this. There we go. Don't need to pass in the variables, pass in the parameters because they're with Angular, they're already going to be binded automatically. So that should work now. Probably embed this in my browser would be easier. I prefer it on the right side. There we go. Test these, add phrase, there we go. So what's next? So the next idea, so we've got this built, this little interface. And so the next idea is to update the database. We're going to do that through a cloud function. And cloud function will do it actually both of these. Step one will update the translation index, add the English translation to translation/en, and then it'll call OpenAPI to do the other translations. The only problem is that we're doing 47 translations, and so would be risking of timing out if we do this, and we probably won't do it all in a single call to OpenAI API. So we're probably going to do a queue mechanism. Would probably make sense. So instead of going straight to there, what we can do is we can add it to, let's make a new entry. The translation queue. And we'll just create an entry, we'll create 47 entries in here, one for each language, that will add to the queue with the appropriate context, with the example translation, the value. And we'll make a trigger. This is actually going to be the same thing, but it's going to be a two-way arrow. Because basically, create an entry here will trigger the OpenAI API to do the translation, and then it'll be a cloud function that'll come back, and then it will store the data for that new translation into the translations. That's what we're going to do. And for that, we're actually going to go to a different code base. Because I have my cloud functions in the overall main application. So we're going to add, so I just added yesterday I think in my stream I added some functionality so that when I go online with Twitch, it's automatically creating an announcement on my website to say that I'm online. So this little announcement, this is actually in the app. Jeff is live on Twitch and on the home page as well. This was put up there. So that's what we did yesterday. That was part of my plan for the stream tools. Adding this component, the live announcement component, add to the home page in the lobby. I actually did these on Friday. Whenever there's an announcement text in this place in the database, automatically displays all that I did Friday. And yesterday we did this, where we created a Twitch webhook that when it receives an event from Twitch when my stream goes online, sets the announcements in text here, which will automatically display it. And when I go offline, it's going to remove the announcement and just clear this data, which will take it out of the app. That's can be seen here. We should have the text, should be in here. Call to action text, the text of the message, and then the URL. So they show up. Call to action is here. There's the text, and the URL goes to my stream. Okay, so now we're working on this one, and let's add in. Add a translation translation phrase. Let's see. Pretty good. Defaulted to the BV API, which I guess is fine. I have basically an index of all my Cloud Functions, and then I have some of them split out into functions with specific functionality. Question is, do I want a separate file for this? I haven't really done translations in here yet. And this is a strictly back office one. There's others in there as well, other places. And it's going to be AI specific. We could make an AI one, which probably would make sense. So I'm just going to duplicate the Twitch one that I just created because it has some of the base stuff in there that I created yesterday. So let's make this one OpenAI. We don't need any of that. Don't need that. And then I'm going to go look at my script because I already wrote a Node.js script to do this. So I have some of the base things down. So we need the OpenAI package. So we also need to install it here. Let's go into the functions directory, npm install OpenAI. Oh yeah, this is a very old version node I'm using on these Cloud Functions. It's an older code base, so npm use 10. I hope OpenAI will run on Node.js 10. Otherwise, I'll have a much bigger job in front of me to get this working. Actually, I think you can split in the same project now. You can have separate Cloud Functions, some for first generation, which I'm using right now currently, and you can also add in second generation. So I may be able to do that if push comes to shove. So far, so good, it looks like. It installed. Good. Let's see. Then in this version, in the script, I brought it in from the environment variable. It'll be a little bit different here as it's in a Cloud Function. It's going to be functions config, and I think I just put open AI key. That's what I called it. So that I loaded before the stream. So it's in the functions for the config for the Firebase functions. So you can technically have a different version on your dev server than on your production server, a different version of the key. For some places that makes sense. What's next? No, not quite that yet. We want to make a callable function because it's only be called from our app. So let's get the syntax for that. On call. Oh no. Let's see. We did this here on call already. And then get an example, change owner. Right, just like this. So exports that add translation phrase. And then let's see. I'm going to get one of mine that are protected by who's admin not. There we go. So what I do is I just check through the context. I already have some functions to do this, to check that they're an authorized administrator of the application. I don't want just anybody adding translation phrases to my app. I mean, it wouldn't break anything necessarily, but want to check that. So we need to also import utilities functions. Thank you, Copilot. And it's kind of right. We're going to do constant trans key. Trans key. It's trans context. Data context, and then constant. What do I call it? Trans value. Come on, Copilot, you should know this. There we go. Probably check if it exists already. Probably the first step. So check if phrase already exists. So that ref that child to translation index. Child trans key. I don't want to do that. Let's return error if the phrase already exists. Okay. That's good. And then let's see if it doesn't, then we can add it. Translation index, and then child trans key, and then set context and value. It should be good actually. So that's the first step. What did I do? Why did it give me an error? What's that for? an extra semicolon. Yeah, so that's going to, let's do await here, and then await here. Actually, it's not sure that's gonna stop the processing. It's just gonna return from this function inside, I think. Let's ask ChatGPT. Will this return break stop the function cloud function? Don't think it will. Let's do throw error. Yeah, it already exists. Yeah, that's what I want. It's better. Okay, and if not, then we'll go ahead and create it. So this should be good. Let's make sure I'm on my dev server. Firebase use Blind Valley develop. I've got a development server and a production server. So let's deploy add translation phrase. Is that what I called it actually? Did I call it add phrase or add translation phrase? Add translation. Add translation phrase, let's call it. It's better. More precise, I would say. Because when you're doing this in the command line, it actually doesn't refer to this one, it refers to this one. This is an internal function that's passed in. So it's this one that counts. Okay, so now my function. That's the actual deployment. I need to use version 14. I'm on 18 here. I'm going to use 18. Okay. OpenAI is not defined. I have a node version issue here. Oh no, I know what I did. That's correct. Let me just check this off screen here to make sure that it's actually set. Firebase functions colon config colon get should show me all my keys. OpenAI.key is good. OpenAI is not defined. Um, oh yeah, I didn't import. No, I did. No, I didn't import. Okay, stupid. I call myself stupid a lot. That's something I do. So here, OpenAI. I just need to bring this file into the index. Now what? Environment variable. Should not be using an environment variable. Okay, so maybe the syntax is off. It may just be a different version that I'm using. Looking better? Think so. Okay, so this, we go back to our chart. This is going to be this portion. So we could say, let me go back here, get one of my little green checks. This interface is done. And optimistically, let's say this piece is done. We haven't tested it yet, but ideally I would have the emulators running here. Probably a task to do, but I'm on an older version of Angular here, and the emulators weren't so easy to play around with, so I'm not sure if I can mix newer versions of the emulators, this fight with this fight, older Firebase versions. I'm not sure. I got an older version of Angular, so an older version of Angular Fire, so an older version of Firebase. Not sure why this is taking so long. Let's look at how we're going to hook this into the app now. Add translation phrase is the name of our cloud function. Let's go back to our, let's see. There was an error. Unexpected token. I think this is a version, something with the version of Node that's being used. Strange that the syntax didn't work because I had in my other script, I had the same, I had this syntax here. Maybe because it was an environment variable, it was picking it up straight from that. And since here it's in a function config, it's not the same. I think some things are out of whack with my node modules. Let's just start clean. I'll just do a clean npm install with this version of Node, and then so we can start clean with this version of Node, and then redeploy, and maybe that'll work. Problem is the Firebase functions I've installed is a later version. So in order to, oh, just, no, that was just a screw up. Oh, let me do this again. Clean out no modules. Back to version 10. Clean install. Then I'll go nvm use 18 and then deploy my function. Nearly did the same stupid thing again. Anyways, we can still go and look how we're gonna call it. Right now our button actually just prints these out. So I've got an API service here. No, it's all service. API service here. And so we're going to do something similar to this, but this will be add translation phrase, add translation phrase. Right, so this will be trans key, trans value, trans context, and then here, pass this as an object, key value context. It's just a shorthand. It should be trans key as the name of the key, and trans key is the value. That should do it, assuming that I can get my actual thing to deploy, which I can't, it seems like. See, I think it's always trying to get it from an environment variable. Um, see if ChatGPT can help me with this one. For the first gen cloud functions, I'm not using environment variables, but instead Firebase functions config keys. My open AI key is stored in functions config. But when I instantiate the OpenAI API, OpenAI package with my key, I get this error. I'm deploying my function. Just that, I guess. Yeah, but it's not my code, dude. There is seen to the quality not prior, but it's not supported Node.js version prior to 14. So that's the problem, is that my okay, so that my cloud functions are running on Node 10. Which is a problem. It's a big problem. Okay, so OpenAI is not compatible with Node 10. It's just something I haven't gone through and upgraded. I guess I'm going to have to at least version 14. I don't think it's going to be breaking for anything. Maybe it knows. Let's see. Are there breaking changes between Node.js 10 and Node.js 14? Let's see. Experimental modules, I don't do that. Diagnostic reports, no. Don't think I do that either. Deprecations, no, it's okay. Async hooks, I don't do. Streams, I don't do. Crypto, create cipher, no, I don't do those. I think it's pretty safe. I'll be able to ready to roll back because this is going to be, this uses my functions for the entire app, so. I just remember where I do this as well. I think it's in the. How do I update my cloud function my Firebase function version? I know it's a config setting somewhere. Firebase function version from node 10 to 14. Where is that defined? I am package.js, package.json. No, that's the wrong one. This one. Let's try it. So one more time, blast out our node modules. Node version manager, use 14, install, and then for this, I'm going to need to deploy all my functions. And there's a few. Okay, I need to use 18 to actually deploy them. And what else? What kind of things should we be testing? I don't think there's any problem with any of these. So I've already changed the code in VVadmin to call our, no, we actually haven't. We just added it to API service. We still haven't linked it to the button. So let's go back to the translation component. And we'll import our API service here. Wow, so good. Copilot is so good. It's magic. Salut Garis. My nephew Garis is watching. Ça va Garis? Oui, 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 ça roule. J'ajoute les traductions pour mon application, une interface pour ajouter les traductions. Impeccable. Euh, voilà. Donc, switching back and forth from French to English. My nephew is online watching me. That's pretty cool. So to add a new translation phrase to my application, I've created this little interface, the key, context, and the base text. We're calling the value. When those get entered and we click the button, it's got to call our API service. So here we'll make this public API service. And here we'll do this API service and translation phrase, and so this trans key, trans value, and trans context. We don't need a then really. I guess we could or we just make this async and we'll just wait for this to finish. And then we can clear out the values. and clear out the trans value. That should be good. So reset those for a new one. Let's see if our function is deployed. Looks good. Did our add translation go through? I think they all went through. Okay. So even though I added the OpenAI function, we still haven't used it yet. Right now, we're just doing Firebase transactions. But since I was importing it, that was causing it to break. Live demo app still looking good. Doesn't seem like, at least, doesn't seem like it's been broken by our upgrade to 4. Let's try creating some stuff in the database. Everything looks pretty good. Subscription, cancel subscription. This one would go to the server. That's going to break anyways because it's a fake subscription. Yeah. I think we're okay. Let's see. We can actually test this now. So we could do a test key, test context, test English text, and add the phrase. Get an instant error. Let's see. Firebase functions. Add translation. Don't actually see it. Add translation phrase. So did it get updated or not? Huh. Strange. Add translation phrase. It's right there. Successful update. Looks like it deployed to production. That's bad. I guess we'll find out right away if Node 14 is going to cause any problems. We start having users scream at me. I thought we did this. Firebase use. Okay, so we have to deploy those again to development server. So obviously it failed because it hadn't even been deployed yet, my new function. But that's the idea. Is we're doing this portion. We could do this portion as well because we have the English phrase. I'm just going to wait until this whole circuit is working, and once this one gets updating, then I'll add the next step. So the next step here would be if we look at our database. Let me look at translations. English, all we have is the key and the phrase. So that'll be an easy update. So basically after this, we would just do, let's just add phrase to translation index, and this will be translations, and then child English, and then child trans key, and we set the value directly to the trans value. So we're not going to put an object here, we're just going to put the text itself. Add a comment, add phrase to the translation to the English translation. So that deployed, so we can test it now. Test key, test context, add phrase. It must be called while authenticated. I'm authenticated. What are they talking about? Test key, test context, test English test, add. Function must be called while authenticated. Um, hmm. The admin check may not have had my other user included. Huh. Let's see on the server what the error is. Let me get more context from the server logs. Authenticated. Reference child first argument was invalid path. I think we got past the security block. It looks like it's something to do with the passing of the variables. Yeah, we should probably do that's okay. Seems like somehow the variables aren't coming through correctly. So if this isn't actually data in trans key variable name, then this would be a null value, and that would make this this break right away. Gotta get my emulator set up. That looks what it looks. That is what it looks like. Um, Here it's just passed as the value, right? We saw that in the other one. But I'm passing it as an object, I believe. I pass these three values to the API service. In the API service, I get the three values, and I pass them as an object. Unless that syntax isn't supported in Node 14. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, it's deployed. We can test again. Here's where I'm going to go. The same error. We should have more in the logs now. Yeah, undefined. Oh, English text came through, but the translation phrase didn't. That means I just have a typo somewhere, probably. Which is silly. Probably lowercase k is the culprit. I'm stupid. Okay, so that should fix that. I'm actually setting the English value also when I save that, so that's being pushed. This new change is being pushed as well. That means that's going to give us this. It was an optimistic check mark. It's not still not working, but we're getting there. This is going to be done as well. And then I think the final step we'll do in this one call is going to load the translation queue. So do that. We'll do that with our optimistic check mark. And then let's do that. Let's load all language into load all translation jobs into queue. So I'll look up from the trans config, I'll look up all the languages. For each one except English, I'll create a job in the translation queue. And each of those will trigger a call to OpenAI API, which will then do the translation and send it back. So I hope I won't hit any throttling limits by doing 47 parallel calls, but we'll see. So let's see if this works now. Add phrase. No. What's going on? How's it still broken? Trans key is not defined. Jeez, what am I doing? Okay. Jeffrey. Also, let's using it poorly everywhere. So let's just do this. Okay, they should be all changed now. Trains key, John's contact looks good. Trains value looks good. Okay. So what was I saying? So let's see. So then we'll load all the translation jobs into the queue. So we need to get from the database. We need to get from transconfig. We need to get all the languages. So transconfig/lang. I need to get all the keys underneath there. Okay, so let's say get complete, get all languages from transconfig/lang. And add translation job to translation queue. Not perfect, but it's pretty close to what I want, actually. Okay, we'll save this. Add the phrase. Is it going to work? Looks like it might have worked. Cleared that out afterwards instead of crashing, which is a good sign. So we did test key. So let's test this. So translation index slash test key. There we go. Test context and test English text. We can delete this because we don't want this one anymore. And what else did it do? It should have created also translations slash English en slash test key. Kind of weird that it's taking that long. Okay, now it worked. So there's the English text, so that's good. But we can delete this one as well. Okay, so that much is working, and I figured out how to pass variables to a function. So this is looking up all the languages in transconfig. For each child, it's getting the key, that's the language, adding translation job. So we're going to do translation queue. We're not going to do it this way. What we're going to do is do push. And that's pretty good. Language, key. We also want to pass in the context. And the value. So basically what we're doing is we're creating a new entry in the database at the translation queue, which this doesn't even exist yet, this area. We're going to push in a new value for each of the languages that are listed there, except I would typically do this in parallel, where I would use a promise all to run these all asynchronously, but I'm actually going to do it sequentially just to slow it down a little bit so we don't hammer the OpenAI um, BI and start getting issues with the number of calls per minute and so forth, number of calls per second or whatever. So it might take a little bit longer to do that, but these are all really fast. So it's going to create a new item with for each language, the translation key, the context, and the English translation. Then I'll set up a separate cloud function that's a trigger that is triggered every time a new entry is written into that translation queue, which will then execute the process with OpenAI, update the translations for that language, and deletes the entry in the queue. That's the idea. So this, there, and there, and there. And there, and there. Yeah, for each of these, it's going to, now so reveal mem, it's going to be the same thing because if I do async here, then it's going to be sending these off asynchronously. That's okay. I guess it's okay if I'm sending these asynchronously. What I can do, I'll do my promise all. Let's job promises this, and then job promises push. So it's actually going to push that into the array. Okay, and then here we'll do, oh wait, promise all promises. And then all we have to do is make this one async, and we should be good. Okay, so that'll create all those entries into the translation queue. Push this to the cloud. So go back to our diagram. Right. This is working, so these check marks are actually valid. Let's move this one up. And then this is what we just did now. Let's do another optimistic check mark. And so that's going to load this translation queue, which should be loading it with 47 of them. Actually 48 of them because I didn't do English. I didn't stop it from doing English. So we should add that if lang not equal to English. I have two of them now. There we go. Heck happened. What did I do here? Not equal to English. We can just push that, all right? But it doesn't matter for now because right now it doesn't do anything, so we can test it. Test key, test context, test text, add the phrase. I should probably, as soon as I click it, disable the button, but that's okay. It should have a loader while it's working and so forth, but it's, like I said, I'm the only user of this application, so it doesn't really matter. So let's see what happened. It seemed to work. This we knew it's working. This one is back, which is normal. Now let's see translation queue. Translations queue doesn't exist. I think I call it translation queue. So here we go. These are the IDs that are auto-generated by Firebase, which is interesting because they're much closer together. Typically, before they used to be like kind of like random characters. Now these look like they're close together. They've kind of changed the algorithm for that, and it seems to be working. So test context, test key, language English. Is that just? I just randomly chose the English one. Okay, now it's doing it for all the languages, so that's cool. So in the future, if I add a different language, then I don't have to worry about changing any code, a JSON file that had all the list of languages or something. It's just going to pull it dynamically from the database. Okay, cool. So that's done. I can delete this whole queue because I'm going to do it again later. So my optimistic check mark worked, so that is working. And now the next thing is to make the one with the database trigger. Okay, so this is probably, we got quite a bit of stuff working, probably a good time to do a commit. Still on master, what the heck? Feature, add, translation phrase. And yeah, do a commit here. Added cloud function for adding a new translation phrase. Okay, and then we need to also do a commit on the front end. And same thing, I'm going to create a branch, check out, feature, add translation phrase. Interface for adding a new translation phrase. Okay, so nothing on the front end should change anymore. All going to be in the back end. We're going to add a new trigger, a new Firebase function that is triggered from writing to the database. I should have an example somewhere. Right. Here's an example of one based on a similar thing, an email queue. So, so let's do translation job. So functions database, the ref is translation queue. Um, and job ID. It's actually probably good. We'll call it the job ID, but this is what's going to do is it's going to make job ID become a variable in my available in my script, I believe. I don't need it, but yeah, I do need it. Actually, I needed to delete it afterwards, so this is good. And then we'll put this in OpenAI translation job. Okay. We'll go in our OpenAI file, exports translation job. It popped up there for a second, but context params job ID. You see, it already has it. Pretty good. Okay, so translating this to this. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to need to do the actual translation. So this I already did in a script when I translated the entire application. And so we want to do something like this. So with the OpenAI API, quite like the Chat API, quite like ChatGPT, you can give it system prompts and then user prompts. So so I'll start with the system prompt and define that. Oops. So you are a translation assistant for the Blind Valley Poker Tournament Management application. You'll be provided with a JSON formatted list of keys to be translated. Not exactly. You can only be provided with one. You can be provided with a phrase to translate the context of where the string is found in the application and the target language code. Don't need to provide it with the key because I'll do the key on my own. Your translation assistant to the Blind Valley Poker Tournament Manager application, you'll be provided with a phrase to translate the context of where the string is found in the application and the target language code. You should respond with a JSON format response. No, I don't need that because I was doing multiple at once in the script. Here I'm going to be doing one phrase at a time. You should respond with translated phrase in the target language and no other information. Please return only the translation string. This is important because sometimes ChatGPT will come back with some intro text like you would see when you're using ChatGPT. Here's the translation you asked for, and it'll give you that. But what I'm trying to do is do this automatically, set it automatically into my app, and have it dynamically available for the user. So I don't want it to give me any preamble. I want to give it have it give just the value. Okay. So this is the format. You give it a role and content. So the role is either system or user, I believe, and you can give a full message history. So you could even invent questions and responses with examples of good responses, which is actually a good way to do it. And I might do that as well. In fact, let's do that. Let's do um, sample. And so you will provide with a phrase to translate the context of the string, where the string is found in the application, and the target language. So let's do that. Let's do phrase, which will be job dot value. No, it's the context. Sorry, context, job context, phrase, job value. Just make sure that's how I store them. Did I do trans value? I deleted them, so of course, let's do that again. I can just look in my code. Right above here. Key, context, trans value. Why was I not consistent? Let's just do value. No, let's be consistent actually. Because sometimes value is a keyword in some systems, I don't like using it. Context, so let's make this, do it in the order I set it in my system mess prompt as well. First the phrase, then the context, and so this will be trans value. This will be trans context, and then target language, target language. Right. Okay. So this should provide it with everything it needs. I will also have the key here, but trans key. So I'll also have the key, but I don't need that until I get the response from ChatGPT. So this is let's see, role content, and then so this is the thing that's a little bit tricky is then what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide a fake response from ChatGPT as if they translated a phrase for me. So the reason to do that is to show them that there's no other data coming back and that we want only a simple translation. So, and I think it's not system, that role. I believe it's something else. Let me go back to my script because I think I did that in this other script as well. Trans one, user content, and then response. translate. So, right. So that's assistant. That's what I was looking for. So here you can see that you do the system message, sample, and then a response from the assistant. This is ChatGPT. So you give also a role and a content for the entry from the assistant, and then I'm going to actually ask for my real translation. Um, so uh, so this is ridiculous because this is not the it's not the sample. This is the um, trans translation question, let's call it. So this is the actual request we're going to make, but we want the sample to be um, we want the sample to be one we already know. So let's look in the database. For example, let's see, translations, translation index. Oops, case sensitive. We look at the translation index because we want the translation and the context. So let's see, what would be a good one? Create tournament. Um, that'll work. So let's do this. So let's take this context. And we'll put that as hard-coded. This is create tournament. And do a target language of French. Okay, so that's the sample. First the system prompt, then a sample question, then we're going to want a sample response. Sample response, make this sample question. Sample response assistance. And just make sure I have the right one that we're doing, but we'll do, see how it's actually translated. Translations, FR, create tournament, create tournament. Question if you should do ER or EZ in French, but for these buttons, but that's what I chose, so I'm sticking to be consistent. So the assistant response. So the content here, instead of being JSON data, should be strictly that. And let me just see if that's, I'm passing a JSON, but I might have to, this is a string actually, so I think I need to go like this, JSON stringify, because it should be a string. And you see, so this is the question, translate create tournament. Here's the context and the target language. Here's the response, only the text. And now we're going to pose the actual question. So all this is just preparing the values that I'm actually going to pass to OpenAI. And so then if we look at the syntax for the call, let's see, I'm going to take all of this. So completion, what is a completion? Completion is completing the chat sequence. So this is the chat API, and we're going to pass it a history, the whole chat history. Basically, every time you call, every time you use ChatGPT and you put another message in, basically the entire history is being passed of that conversation is being passed in again to ask the AI to continue and complete that discussion. So, um, so that's what a completion is. It's completing the next step in the discussion. And so we're going to pass in system. That's what we used. Then we're going to pass in our sample question as the next item. Then we're going to pass in the sample response. That would replace this coming from the assistant. We already have the role built in there. And then we're going to pass in our question, which is our actual trans value, actual trans context, and actual language that we want. The idea is that so this is going to be passed in response format. No, we don't want that. In the previous example of my script, I was doing multiple at once, so I wanted JSON back. But here I just want string. And this may not be the right model. That's the latest model right now. I need to check that. OpenAI models, model strings, models. Okay, so we want I want to use the latest. So let's use this one. That's the model we're going to use. So it's going to come back. This is doing a JSON parse, which we shouldn't need. Completion choices. I guess in some ways when you use it, you can get multiple options for your response. But this is just a one, and then it's going to. Right now, it's just doing a console log, but translation. So log that, and then the idea is that we're going to then take that value, and Copilot already knows what I want to do. So then we want to create, wait, that's right, translations, the language, and then we're going to do trans key precisely, and we don't need the value, we just need to do set, right, to translate it. So that's what we're going to do. So this is a translation job. It's going to trigger one of these for each language, each entry that is pushed in there. As soon as it pushes, it's going to trigger this. It's going to make a call, pass in our values, get the translation value back from ChatGPT, and store it in the database. Now, the only thing is I don't want to try this on 47 of them when I initially do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of fake it. I'm going to push this to the server. I know. I might need to redeploy that one, but I need to also do my new one, translation job. So what I'm going to do to fake this, since I'm on my dev server, I'm going to go to translation index. Translation index. No. Translation config is what I want, trans config. Here's all my languages. I'm going to export these so I have them. And I'm just going to delete most of them. I'm going to delete, let's see, just going to delete, what would be easier here? Let's open up that file I just downloaded. Downloads, export. I'll just delete most of these. So I can just test with a couple languages. Maybe I'll test with a couple of them that I can actually recognize. What is new language? Why do I have that? Oh, my transconfig lang is what I want. Let me go back there. I did the whole transconfig. Okay. So let's transconfig lang. Let's delete these. Maybe we'll leave just French in, maybe Spanish. Spanish. French. Actually, English we could leave in because it's going to skip English. It should. It'll be a good test to make sure it skips it. Okay, so English, French, and Spanish. So we'll save this in a different file name so we don't lose all our data. Limited. Here we can do now an import of our limited. That should overwrite that one. Now we just have our three languages. So we don't have to use a whole bunch of credits on OpenAI for languages, phrases that we're not actually going to do. So let's do a real test. Is it deployed? That was deployed, but I need to deploy translation job. And then let's prepare our form. So we're going to say translation key. Let's try and make something that seems real. And with some poker terms. So let's say new player, let's say new tournament champion. A message, an announcement, message at the end of a tournament. Let's say a new tournament champion has been crowned. Let's see how this does. Has our function been deployed? Not yet. So we need to wait. This wouldn't error, it would work. It would just create all the entries in the database and they wouldn't trigger. So we want to wait until our trigger is in place. Let's go. Okay, so that's been pushed. Is this going to work on the first try? It's going to work on the first try. I think we look good. Let's do it. And then let's check out translation queue. There's 2 entries in there. It means one of them's already been treated. Actually, oh no, there's only 2 entries, and I didn't delete it at the end, so those worked. And now the question is, have the translations gone through? So we want to look at translation for French first, and we're looking for the new tournament key champion. New tournament. Oops. New tournament champion key. Translations. French. New tournament champion. Nothing yet. It could be still processing, or it could have crashed horribly. So let's go back to our console. Let's look at the functions. And what do we call it? Translation job. Translation job. And look at the logs. We got an error. Message 3 content is invalid. Okay. We see the new tournament champion, so that did come through. Kind of weird we didn't get a... We should have one for Spanish as well, right? I mean, we should see an error for both of them. Shouldn't we? That's strange. Let's see. Did Spanish work? That's another question, I guess. No, Spanish didn't work either. Or is one of these for English, one of these for French, one of these for Spanish? I don't think so. Oh yeah, we did see Spanish as well. Okay. Okay, let's go back to the code in our message 3. What's our message 3? Duck, duck, duck. System, sample question, sample response. There's a problem with the response. The accent. Could be the accent. Let's try this. Let's see, just tournaments. Let's see new tournaments. Some that won't have an accent. Nouveau tournoi. Kind of weird that an accent would break that. Am I not in UTF-8? Role assistant. Content, nouveau tournoi. Why is that a problem? Create tournoi. Why was it a problem? The one thing I think is the accent. It doesn't make sense. OpenAI. API accented characters in message content. Might have to do some encoding or something. I don't know if I pass in accent characters. I mean, I don't. If I'm using only English for my jobs, I'm passing it, then I shouldn't be getting that. Okay, let's try this again. What did we say? Yeah, new tournament champion. A new tournament context. A victory message in the app after or when tournament finishes. A new tournament champion has been crowned. Let's try it. Again, this should always succeed. Right? That error out? No. Because this is not the translation index. No, translation queue. Should be 4 of them actually. Why is it not working? Let's see here. I'm just gonna copy these to the side so I don't lose them and have to type them every time again. Oh, and no, I know what happens. My key already existed, right? Somewhere? Is that what happened? Because new tournament champion already existed? So it gave me an error. Let's refresh this. And I'll just put an S on it so it's a different key just in case that was the problem. And then this one. Hasn't crashed yet. There we go. 2 more entries in the translation queue. That's good. Those should have both have triggered OpenAI calls. Let's look at the logs. Message 3 content is invalid. It's so weird. What is happening? Message 3 content is invalid. I know. Oh. Oh yeah, message 3. Stupid. I'm stupid. 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's the 4th message, not the 3rd message. So it had nothing to do with the accent. This is what it didn't like. And this is what I did. I thought I had already did this. Didn't I stringify? I stringified the sample question, but not the translation question. Smart. Okay, that makes total sense now, the error. Because it wants a string, it doesn't want a JSON. I passed JSON in for content and it said, nope, no thank you. So this should be good. One more push. We can actually delete all these out. Actually, we can delete the whole queue. It'll recreate it when it writes to it. What else? Translation index. We've got new tournament champion, new tournament champions. That was the problem from that last time. I need to do better error message in the client, but for now it's me, so that's okay. There will be some, then maybe the English translation is already there as well. I guess I could change that. I've got time. So here we can get rid of these as well. Okay, let's see how our code's doing. Still pushing. Okay, so that's there. Go back to our admin screen. Let's try this again. No tournament champion. New victory message. May not pop up, let's just say. When the tournament finishes, let's save that. And a new tournament champion has been crowned. 3 exclamation points. Let's see if it matches my enthusiasm. Okay, let's go. Translation queue, let's check that. Make sure our jobs got created. There they are, with my exclamation points. And then check the logs. Un nuevo campeón del torneo ha sido coronado. Un nouveau champion de tournoi a été couronné. 3 exclamation points. Thank you very much. Cool. So I got my 2 translations that look good. And now let's see if they were written into place. Translations, France, new tournament champion. And there it is. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. Okay. The only thing left is to delete the items from the translation queue when we finished. So we don't want these to just fill up endlessly. I mean, they wouldn't be hurting anything because we're only running against the OpenAI when these items get created. So we can just leave them there. It wouldn't hurt anything, but it's just going to pollute our database for anything, make our database bigger than it needs to be. So what we want to do is have the script create these, trigger the function, have the function do the translation, and then come back and delete it. That way also we'll know that any translations jobs that are still in the queue were never processed. I mean, there was a bug with OpenAI, maybe I didn't pay my bill for the API or whatever. So that's the last step. So let's go back to our code. Um, so here's where we're writing the result into the database. And good old GitHub Copilot knew exactly what I wanted to do. It knows the word queue. It knows what it does. It knows how it's processed. So we got our job ID. That's what it passes in, which is our endpoint, and it's going to remove that entry. So that's exactly what we wanted, and we're done. So we're going to push that, let that go there, and so this is done. These jobs will load into the queue. Translation for all 47 languages. We didn't do 47 languages, but probably should actually try that for all 47, just to be safe, to see if we do run into any throttling issues. So let's try that. To try that, okay, we'll leave the optimistic check mark. And we need to go back to our transconfig that I completely blasted and reduced to 2 languages. But I saved the backup. So we're going to import the JSON file that I exported. That's what I like about the real-time database compared to Firestore is that you can do these little exports and imports at different points very easily. It's a little bit clunkier with Firestore to do a similar thing, much clunkier. Okay, so now we have all our languages, and let's try it. Our update is deployed. Seemed to go fast this time. I did deploy it, right? I think so. Let's see. I will see what the log is because it's going to give me a. It always makes a little entry when it's redeploys. So yes, it just did deploy. Okay. Let's go. And again, we'll change the key because I didn't clean up the key that time. But that's fine. This is my dev database, so it can get a little bit dirty, the data, it doesn't matter. So the difference here is that the translation queue should fill up, and then as they're being processed by OpenAI, it should fill up, and then it should delete everything out, and we should be able to watch that happen in real time. That is the power of the real-time database. Let's go. Here's all our jobs created. And now you can see they're starting to be processed. Boom, boom, boom. Beautiful. 48 languages, 47 languages translated. We're living in an amazing time. Okay, so let's check it out. We can see the translations in the logs. Refresh. I don't know what these languages are, but En de tournoi campion geek ronde. Whatever that is, it looks really good. None of them crashed out. Look at all these translations to all these languages. What is that? Bengali? I don't know what it is. Very cool. Ah, I did get, no, I just scrolled back up further. That was the previous job, right? That error. Yeah, 8625, that was an old one. No errors. Cool. So we did it. Uh, it's all working. Everything I wanted to do today. This is showing up in the translated interface is automatic. So yeah, that was my goal for today. We created the interface here in BVadmin, my back office app. So we added the menu item, created the little form, linked that to a Cloud Function, a first Cloud Function that we call, passing in the key, the context, and the English translation. We store that in the translation index. We then write the English translation into its place in the translations item. We create an entry in the translation queue for every other language besides English, which there's 47 other ones besides English, 48 with English. Creation of that entry in the translation queue then triggers the call to OpenAI, do the translation, save those translations under the language key appropriately, and that's it. We've updated all our translation texts, and we're ready to go. So now the app is fully functional in 48 languages. So this was kind of holding me up. Having this functionality was kind of holding me up from doing some additional features to my app because I had changed the way the translations were working, had translated them with ChatGPT, and and so before I added new features that had new text in them, I needed to do that. So one thing I could do, for example, is maybe in a future item is my little phrase right here. Jeff is live on Twitch for a dev support stream. This could be text that I put into my translation engine. Watch live as well could be another text string. And instead of when I create them, I could just create pass in the maybe either text or a translation phrase. And if it's a translation phrase, that means if somebody's reading this website in Spanish, they wouldn't have an English string up here. So maybe that's for the next stream. We'll convert that to a translated text. Okay, I'm going to sign off for now. Thanks everybody who watched.